As most of you probably know, and now many of you have probably actually seen the statements themselves, there were statements made by several of our students in a private Snapchat that then became fully public that were highly inappropriate and offensive. These statements were offensive and hurtful, both because of the explicit racist and sexual nature of the language they used. I do not have words for how I feel as a member of this community, but also recognize that my skin color and my privilege in the community shields me from the harshest undertones of statements like this. I've said many times to you that this is your community. Each and every one of you is a vital member of the MICDS community, but I also have to acknowledge in this moment, we need to acknowledge in this moment, that many of our friends are hurting right now and wondering if that is indeed a true statement. I do believe, it's kept me here for 20 years, that this community is populated by remarkable people who are eager to do the right thing and be the best people that they can be. But that only prevails if we commit to being upstanders for what is good and right, and not simply bystanders. This country has fought the insidious lies of a racist narrative that has its claws in us in ways that I don't think we all fully understand. This racist narrative has led to the subjugation of people whose skin tones mark them as others, and has, throughout history, been brutally enforced with a perpetual threat of violence and disenfranchisement. Verbally, the N-word has been used to oppress, to psychologically maim, and to maintain brutal control, and remains as ominous today as it ever was. It is a word that has no place in any community, and there's absolutely no moment when it should ever be uttered by those of us who are white. The truth is that this is not something that our African American community members should have to remind us. They have listened to us talk around this issue too much and too long. They deserve our alliance, and not just words. They deserve our commitment to fully honor our mission statement. Those of you who have skin tones similar to my own need to be the ones to hold each other accountable. I stand before you as someone who does not have to worry about how I will be treated by others or what opportunities might be limited by my skin color. I stand in front of you as a parent of two girls that doesn't have to have conversations with them that African American mothers and fathers must have on a regular basis. That doesn't absolve me of responsibility. That demands more of me. That demands more of all of us, especially those of us who are white. We can no longer ask people of color to take the lead on this, to advocate for their own security, to plead for not special treatment, but for equal treatment. This should be the burden of those whose skin tone gives us the privilege to ignore these issues if we choose cowardice. To our students of color, I am deeply sorry for how you may be feeling in this moment, and I want you to know that you have so many friends and allies who are eager to support you. In this moment, it is our African American students, but we have an obligation to champion all of these students, all of our students, each and every one of you, who finds yourself in the minority for racial ancestry or religious beliefs or whatever defines us as different from each other. You all are poised to inherit this world. How we handle this moment today, who we choose to be as people and as members of this community, will define whether this moment in time defines us, or if we instead determine to define the moment. This is a wonderful community, but it desperately needs each of you for its heart to continue to beat.
We believe that we speak for the entire community when we say that Sunday was a shock and a new wave of frustration. What unfolded Sunday was unexpected, and it hit hard to us. The fact that these texts were sent by members of our community and the motives for it are lost on us. There are no real words to describe the situation other than extremely disappointing.
The use of the N-word is in no way and should never be used as a joke. It is dangerously offensive and wrong. Yet this is not just offensive to the Black students, but given other mentions in the text, including the KKK, it is offensive to the entire community, regardless of race and ethnicity. The words sent were not becoming of any member of the MICDS community, and we would echo with other sentiments shared that they were embarrassing, unacceptable, and inexcusable.
So while we are dumbfounded by the ignorance and hatefulness of the situation, we take confidence in knowing that our community is better than this. We don't stand idly by as our values are attacked. We stand up and call out hatred when we see it. George Washington said in his letters to the Jews of Rhode Island, "Give to bigotry no sanction." Let that be a calling for us to stand up to any act of ignorance that may arise into our community.
The unity we saw this weekend was inspiring, many calling out the problem and calling for change. Let us continue to come together throughout the school year and to make this community a better place.
Change can be made from this, and together it will be done. Thank you.
Each student at MICDS has a role to play in our community. And with this role comes a responsibility to look out for each other. It is this role that gives our words, whether exchanged on social media or in person, the power to greatly affect one another. Under no circumstances should we say, do, or act in a way that makes a member of our community offended. Hate speech and racial slurs have never and will never possess a place in this community. We are a family. When we see or read something that is unkind, offensive, or mainly targets any of our fellow community members, we have an obligation to stand up for them. Seeing members of our community standing up for what is good and right sparks a deep sense of hope in us. We know that this event does not define the MICDS community. In times like these, it is easy to look at what has happened, but what is even more important is how we move forward as a community. We can't let times like these define our community. It is our strength and resilience which we use to progress as a collective that accomplishes this.